Joining me, Michael Danby, former federal Labor politician and chairman of the Joint Standing Committee of Foreign Affairs, Defence and Trade when he was in Parliament, and Steve Conroy, former Labor senator and cabinet minister. Michael Danby, you've heard today from Labor, the Coalition, One Nation and the Greens on a day when Parliament passed the condolence motion for the dead of Bondi. What does this tell you?
Well, happy 2026, Andrew and Stephen. There's a lot of good sentiment there, but I absolutely agree with you, Andrew. I didn't watch the debate because I'm, in a sense, a bit sickened by it. It's a whole lot of, there's a great Yiddish word, schmaltz, good sentiment, but overdone. Action in the previous 2.5 years would have been better. Tony Burke should have gone out to Lakemba 2 days afterwards. He didn't have to use any laws. He just had to use moral suasion on his constituents and tell them that such behaviour, celebrating the massacre of people, was intolerable in an Australian society. That's the kind of leadership you were talking about. That's the kind of leadership that Bob Hawke or Kim Beazley or even Bill Shorten or even Julia Gillard would have given in the past.
Yeah, Stephen, Michael touches on something that really gets me too. You know, all this talk about banning groups, banning free speech, all that to try and crack down. Why don't people just speak up and, you know, confront, like the Adelaide Writers' Week? You know, at the same time that's happened, you had more than 180 guests and writers and all that walk out of the festival in support of a woman that's preached the most amazing hatred of Zionists, etc., and defended Hamas. I mean, why hasn't the Prime Minister, why hasn't Tony Burke said a single word of criticism about that?
Well, look, that individual did say some hateful and abhorrent things and tweeted them out. And anyone who wanted to in any way suggest that what happened that day was a good thing really shouldn't be tolerated. I want to congratulate Peter Malinauskas for the stand he took. He's made it very clear that he doesn't support her views. But in terms of this debate, and this is
the Prime Minister was silent.
One, as you've outlined, well, it's a state festival, so I don't think Susan Ley had a lot to say about it. And I'm not being critical when I say that, but this is a state issue, and there was excellent leadership from Peter. But on the legislation, it is complex, Andrew, and you've described trying to find that balance. I hope that those negotiations that are going on right now between Labor and the Liberal Party find a reasonable, sensible outcome that can see both parties put their hands up and vote for this legislation. But if it falls short, and I know you said banning organisations, but if the Nazi Party offshoot here in Melbourne's already disbanded itself, which is a good thing. But, you know, if we do not put, you know, Hizb ut-Tahrir on the list and ban it, then this legislation will have failed. I would hope and feel confident that that's what will happen. But if the legislation does not give the ability to do that, it does not give the ability to deal with the hate preachers that espouse anti-Semitism and help create the environment. If it does not deal with those issues, then I'll be sadly disappointed in both political parties.
All right, the party will be banned if it works, but all the believers in the ideology and in the Hizb ut-Tahrir message, all the members, they'll still be there. They'll still be there. And the point is, why do we need even more laws against free speech and free association in a country that once allowed the Communist Party to keep going? You know, the attempt by the Menzies government to ban the Communist Party, defeated. Why do we ban when good men and women could have stopped what we've seen by simply speaking up? And the Prime Minister did not. And that's my point. The gutlessness is what the real issue is here. Now, the polls, Michael, these extraordinary polls. I mean, the News poll has one message, and then the Resolve poll in the Channel 9 papers has a complete other. I mean, what did these two polls tell you?
That the two-party preferred vote for the One Nation Liberal National Party is up, and they'll preference each other, I'd imagine. I don't believe, Andrew, that we're at a reform UK moment in Australian politics yet. It's very good for retail politicians like Pauline Hanson and Barnaby Joyce, good retail politicians, to get ahead for the first time in one of the prestigious polls. But I don't think they are going to stay ahead, and I think their preferences will strongly come back to the Liberal National Party. And I think there is an anti-government shift, which you would expect after 2 terms, and the government's poor handling of this Bondi issue and the issue of anti-Semitism over the last 2 years.
Steve Conroy?
Yeah, look, I thought it was fascinating that they went in different directions. I mean, both of them had Labor, I think, just below its vote at the last election. So I think the Labor Party would be wanting to watch that. But what it did show is that the Liberal Party, the coalition, are still struggling on their right flank, that their votes are being eaten up by, as Michael said, the cheap retail politics, the easy, lazy politics that Pauline Hanson has always practiced, and that there's real tension inside the Liberal Party. I mean, you can just see this over the debate on this legislation. I think Susan Ley wants to do the right thing, but those who want to advocate this imaginary position that absolute free speech is what rules in Australia, it's not. The Jewish community in Australia deserve the right to walk the streets of Melbourne without being intimidated by those rolling protests. So I think even now, when the country needs to see leadership from both political parties, and that's what's been reflected by those polls. You know, Susan Ley is in a world of pain inside her own party. The Labor Party is united on what it's trying to achieve. It's Susan Ley that's struggling to control her party to get them to the table.
Andrew, I don't want to demur from...
Yeah,
from
but one of the polls says they're only now 4
intentions of
points
that
behind.
legislation.
Can I...
Please.
Michael, can I just, before I go, ask you about this? It's, you know, like I say, a lot of what we need is beyond banning free speech and banning parties. It's just that people speak up against the drift in the culture here. It strikes me as ridiculous that the New South Wales Labor government has appointed Barrister Philip Bolton to the Supreme Court when he's called on the Prime Minister to distance Australia from Israel, which he falsely accuses, by the way, of genocide, among other alleged offences. And it's posted that Zionists lie and lied again, according to reporting in the Australian newspaper. I mean, how can any Zionist, which includes me and the vast majority of Jews, feel comfortable appearing before such a judge giving those comments? How does he get appointed by Labor in this context?
Well, first of all, let me agree with you that it's the zeitgeist in Australia over the last 2.5 years that's important. It's the ABC, it's the writers, it's the artists, it's the government on all of these issues, together with Islamist extremists that have made Australia a more perilous place to live in. And I think this is a person who seems to have been captured by that zeitgeist. And I must say that Michael Daly has never impressed me as an Attorney General in New South Wales, and he's the person who's appointed him. The problem in Victoria with the appointment of magistrates and judges who are soft on crime, that's the problems of previous Attorney Generals, both Liberal and Labor. And that's who you should blame for these kind of appointments. And they do definitely affect how things are judged over the long term, such as the judge who was appointed to make the ruling on the bridge in Sydney, which was against the advice of the police. So, you know, it's Attorney Generals, especially state Attorney Generals, who are appointing these judges and magistrates.
Look, I don't want to disagree with anything that Michael said, but Andrew, you know, that bloke's right to free speech just hit the fence on your analysis. He should not be given a job because of some things he said. I mean, you can't, both of you have it both ways, that, you know, everyone should be able to have free speech and then you don't like his and he shouldn't get a job.
No, my question
I don't
is...
agree with him
I didn't say
all.
that. You said
Stephen,
that. I didn't
it's
say
about.
that.
No, but Andrew's
Hello.
broad free
Let me
speech.
clarify. We are talking about judges being seen to be neutral in the administration of justice. This is a fundamental thing of our court system for decades and decades, centuries, really. And if someone says Zionists lie and lie again, if it's reported to be correct, then I would be concerned as a Zionist being in front of that judge with the presumption that I lie and lie again. I mean, that is nothing unusual at all. He's free to say what he says, but that does not mean that it's cut out to be a judge being seen to be impartial, being seen, which is the critical thing. Stephen Conroy and Michael Danby, thank you very much to you both.